will house this video. Okay, so just to respect everyone's time today, I would like to go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone. It looks like we're kicking off another school year, so welcome to the 26-27 school year. So I am here to assist you and help you with getting your reporting needs accurately documented and just to support you in that. So this portion is just the training piece, and we'll talk a little bit later in the session about when that actual getting started for the classroom-based teacher will be taking place. So we will just be online for about an hour today. It might be a little bit less than that, just so you know. Okay. So first of all, I work on the standards instruction and professional learning team, and I want to talk to you about just what our vision is. So our SIPL team is committed to providing high quality, evidence-based, and sustained professional learning that empowers educators and strengthens student outcomes across the state of Montana. So that's our goal, our vision. So I know some of you, I recognize some of the names, but I do see some new names of new friends. And I also have a new friend to introduce to you today. So as most of you know, Jackie Ronning was our early learning coordinator, and she has decided to go back to the classroom. So my new friend, her name is Allison Frazier, and she will be the new Jackie, if you will. She will be slipping into those shoes. And so she will be your other point of contact on the early learning team this year. Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to work on today, what our objectives are. You're going to learn about the responsibilities of the early learning liaison, learn about the timelines and the data collections. Also, you will be learning about some considerations to think about if you're maybe new to starting a classroom-based program this year. We have some updates to share with you about the enrollment process for the home-based program and what those pieces will look like in Infinite Campus if you are looking to offer home-based to your eligible students at your school. Before we jump into these responsibilities, I did want to mention that if you have a question during this session, please feel free to go ahead and use the raise hand function in the meeting. If you're not comfortable coming off of mute and raising your hand, please feel free to use the chat feature because we will be monitoring that as we're moving along in the meeting today. Okay, so as far as responsibilities, I'm assuming if you're here, you are one of my early targeted intervention liaisons. And if you're not, you're in the wrong meeting. Um, so let's just talk about some of the responsibilities. The biggest piece of this is communication. Communication from you. If you have questions, you can feel free to reach out to um, me, or you can reach out to Allison. The other piece is you'll get communication from us, and that would look like, getting an email and basically letting you know if there's something coming up that you might be interested in. If we have something to convey, we usually just send it all via the liaisons. So professional development opportunities, a process change if there's something like I referred to earlier. We're going to talk about the home-based enrollments. Data collections, which thank you for all of the support. I received so many responses on my data collection number 2, which was very helpful in helping me compile all of that data into my legislative report, which will be coming out next month. If you are offering a home-based program this year and you are the liaison, you will be the point of contact for Waterford as they are looking to enroll your students in that programming. And then you will also be responsible for collecting all of the data that we're looking to collect. We'll talk about that shortly. Okay, so let's talk about why we need the data. This is the law, right? So I'm not going to read you this. I'll give you a minute to go through and read why we collect what we collect, when we collect it. Any questions on the law or what we're looking to collect? Sorry, wait time is hard online. Not going to lie. All right, I'm going to move on. Okay, this was a chart that I developed a couple of years ago just to make it very concise in terms of what data I'm looking to collect when. So throughout the school year, we will collect in Infinite Campus. That's where all of those home-based enrollments are going to live. You'll also give us information via the eligibility record about the evaluation methodology tool you use to assess students and determine them eligible. Jumpstart enrollment, those need to be, all of that should live in Infinite Campus with a calendar and all those pieces. I encourage you, if you ran a summer Jumpstart program, to access that guide that is posted on our website, because all of that needs to be certified by September 4th. So critical that you have all of that documentation in there, the calendar, the enrollments, and all of those eligibility records to support how you determine those students eligible for that programming. Classroom program enrollment always lives in Infinite Campus, and then your end of year screening results. Data collection 1, which will be going out next month. It's hard to believe that it's almost September already. But I will be looking, the primary reason for that data collection is to collect information about the efficacy of your Jumpstart program. If you ran a Jumpstart program, I will definitely need you to fill out information about how many students you served, and the progress they made. And then also we usually collect information about challenges that you may have encountered with offering this programming. And then data collection number 2, I send out May-ish and or June. So this year I did it a little bit differently and batched it out based on when you were ending your school year. So that was helpful. I had a lot more responses because of that. And that was just gathering information on your classroom-based program, and the home-based program, the efficacy piece for both of those, and your end of year screening results. So looking at those pieces. Any questions on the collection schedule before I move forward? Sarah, yes, the chart is available online, and I do have another resource to show you shortly, and that will also help with your, I call it one-stop shop for early targeted intervention data. Um, Not Patty. Let's see. That question went away too quickly. Not seeing any documents if you are showing them. Oh, I'm just showing this data schedule right now, Patty. I'm not showing anything else, but I will be showing you some things later in the session. Does that answer your question, Patty? Oh, okay, Patty, go ahead. You have the floor, Patty. Oh, okay. She said thank you. I guess we can move on, I'm assuming. If you have any questions, feel free to come off of mute. Okay. All right. Moving on to the next slide. So let's talk a little bit about the eligibility process, right? Your district is contemplating offering a classroom-based program. The first thing that we recommend that you do is that you get approval from your board of trustees, that you get them on board, get some sort of policy in place so that you have a very explicit path to explain how you're going to, screen students and how you're going to deem them eligible. That's always a great first step to start with. Then you're going to go ahead and once your board has said, yes, we would like to have a classroom-based program here at our school, then you go ahead and you look for a screener. We have two screeners. So as you know, most of you know, back in the 2025 legislative session, House Bill 338 passed. And so that opens up the eligibility piece where you can now qualify a student via numeracy. It also removes that language that originally said in House Bill 352 that you may screen students in April, May, or June. All of that language is gone. So you can screen students throughout the school year. We don't have any limitations. If you're looking to screen students, our general guidance is that you screen them using the literacy screener first, and then if you can't qualify them via literacy, that you go ahead and screen them with the numeracy screener to see if you can qualify them that way. But that kind of lessens the costs and fees for districts because most students will be qualified under literacy. I should also say that you only need to put one eligibility record in Infinite Campus. Even if students qualified in both, you only need to put in one eligibility record. So that's a key piece of information. You don't have to put both in. And then in the third step, you go ahead and offer the programming to eligible students. So I have a couple of resources linked here, and I can send these slides out, but I do have all of these resources posted under the resources section on our website, and I can put that in the chat too, where just where it'll take you directly to our page, and then we kind of have a collapsible accordion that has a lot of different resources there. So the first one is a sample eligibility letter that you can customize for your school or district. And then the second one here is a home-based consent / eligibility letter. So one of the pieces that we are including this year is gaining parental consent for students to participate in the home-based program. And this letter allows you to gain that consent, and then we'll talk a little later how you will document that in Infinite Campus. Any questions on this process? Katie.
So my understanding, so you need consent for testing, and then do
Correct.
you need a separate consent to participate in the program? Another signed signature page?
No, you
Okay.
would not. And typically keep in mind that the kiddos that are coming to be assessed for your classroom-based program, like the parents are coming to you, right?
Yeah.
And so they are giving, in a roundabout way, they are giving consent. It is always a good idea to have another like physical piece of consent other than just, well, they brought their student here to be assessed. I would highly recommend that you have something when they bring their student, maybe just have them sign something that they are consenting to testing. But I mean, the whole purpose of them bringing their student there is to be tested to see if they're eligible, correct?
Yeah. So we have like a signed consent for testing, and then
Okay.
we request just a checkbox. Yes, I will be sending my student, and then they fill out like just a survey about their kid. So that should
Yeah,
be enough.
that's
Okay,
perfect. Yep,
got it.
that will work. Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Katie. Okay, any other questions before we move along? Okay. All right. So these are some things to consider as you're preparing for a classroom-based program. As Katie was just talking about, you want to make sure that you are, assessing the students and collecting that information to see which students are eligible. So we should clarify that the schools set the cut scores and determine eligibility. That's not something that we do here at the OPI. But so for your pre-K, your PK kids, the classroom-based program, you've got 3 domains that you can use to qualify those kids. You've got the oral language, the alphabet knowledge, and the phonological awareness. So those 3 pieces, you can qualify kids using 1, 2, or all 3. I mean, that's really up to you. If you are looking to run a half-time program, you should have 360 instructional hours throughout the school year. And if you're looking for full-time, it should be 720 instructional hours. So unfortunately, it needs to be half-time or full-time. I had someone once say, well, what if I have, 0.3 or 0.25? And nope, it needs to be half-time or full-time. The teacher that is assigned to be the teacher of record for that classroom ideally should have a P3 license, but we do accept a teacher that has a K8 endorsement. Okay, and then the instruction in that classroom should be based on the Chapter 63 Early Learning Developmental Domains and Content Standards. So that's what you should be using to guide your instruction in that classroom. And then I just wanted to mention that the kiddos need to be 4 on or before September 10th of the year that they're going to be participating in programming. So that's a critical piece to make sure that all of those pieces are in place so that you can support those kiddos. Any questions on programming or requirements? Okay. Here are some things to think about when you're recording, when you're documenting students participating in this programming in the classroom-based program. They have to have an enrollment that's mapped to the state grade pre-K, PK. And then the service type may be primary or partial. This next bullet on here, I want to make sure that I really highlight this. So there is underneath the enrollment, there are a bunch of boxes, and below the enrollment, there's a fall and a spring classroom intervention box. So you need to make sure that those boxes are checked on the fall count date as long as the student is enrolled, and the spring count date as long as the student is enrolled on that day. That's what's going to ensure that you get that A and B funding for that student. And all of these students have to have an eligibility record for the current school year. And as I said before, only one. So either literacy or numeracy. And then there are some state reporting requirements for title, FRAM, PED 504, and any other K through 12 programs are also required for classroom-based programs. So you could have kiddos that have they're enrolled in other programs, but they still could be participating in the classroom-based program is basically what that's trying to say in a long-winded, lots of acronym way. Acronyms
Kim,
way.
there's a question in the chat. Can you please go over the fall and spring interventions a little bit more?
So when you are in Infinite Campus and you have an enrollment pulled up, you have a kiddo enrolled in your classroom-based program, and below that, you're going to have, and maybe I can do this really quick. I was going to, bear with me for a minute. So I have another document here, and it's on the website, but I'm going to see if I can just drop this link in the chat because this has an actual picture of what that should look like. So it's under enrollment count. So you would have fall enrollment count, and then there's a label there that says classroom-based interventions, and there's one for fall and there's one for spring. So you just need to make sure that you have that box checked on fall count date if you have the student enrolled on fall count date, and then also on spring count date, you want to make sure that you have that box checked. Does that answer your question, Sarah? Okay. Katie.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to have my hand raised.
Oh, okay.
Is there a way to take it down? Oh, there. I figured out I need to check it to take it down.
No worries. Okay. So hopefully that is more clear. You know, okay, let's see. Charla has a question here. Do I need to enter early targeted intervention eligibility record in Infinite Campus? Yes. So Charla, you absolutely need to have an eligibility record for every student that's participating in any of these programs, okay? So if a kiddo did Jumpstart, they should have an eligibility record. If they participated in home base, they should have an eligibility record. If they are going to participate in classroom based, they should have an eligibility record. Now, your kiddos, if you're thinking about offering home-based, your kiddos that you're putting in the eligibility record for a classroom-based program, those kiddos would automatically qualify for home-based if you decide to offer that. But we will talk about one other piece that we need to consider a little bit later in the training. But yes, absolutely, everyone needs to have an eligibility record. Otherwise, they're not seen as participating in this programming. Okay? If we screen them in April, yes, Sarah. So if you screened them in April, you can absolutely use those screening results for the classroom-based program. Yep, absolutely. Okay, let's go ahead and good questions though. And so some of this up here is a lot of the language, and this first bullet is the language from Infinite Campus. So I just usually put that in there. It probably means more to you than it does to me, but I feel like we need to address it. So it's just how you're mapping these courses. And then as we talked about before, you need to make sure that the primary teacher of record has either a P3 or a K8, and then we should talk about class size. So I have this little chart down here at the bottom, which is just letting you know that if you have up to 10 kiddos in your classroom-based program, you can go ahead and just have the one teacher in there. But for each kiddo over 10, you need to have a paraprofessional in there for an hour each day. So if you had 11 students, you'd have to have a para in there for an hour. If you had 12, you'd need one in there for 2 hours, right? And then once you hit that 16th kiddo in your classroom, you need to have a full-time paraprofessional in there. Just to support all of those little people running around, and I couldn't imagine being in there by myself with 16 little people. That would be a lot. Any questions on class size? All right. Okay. Here are a couple of screenshots on what your eligibility records should look like. Okay. So they all need to have the school year should be 26-27. The record entry date should be that date that you gave that assessment to qualify the kiddo. And then the end date should be the end of the fiscal year, which would be 6/30/2027. Okay. And then, as I said, you could have one in for literacy and one in for you only need to put one in. You don't need to put both, okay? But this just gives you an example of each of those. And then just making sure that the state grade should be mapped to, it should be the grade level of the assessment that was given, okay? So that's sometimes where I see a hiccup where a student is eligible, but someone put in a different grade level, right? So if you have a kindergarten student that you assessed and you deemed them eligible, but they're going on to first grade, say they're going to participate in home-based, they should still have a state grade of kindergarten because that was the grade level of the assessment that you gave. We wouldn't give a first grader unless it was farther along in the school year. We wouldn't give them a first grade assessment, right? Because they wouldn't have access to all that content yet. That wouldn't be very fair. So just keep that in mind as you're documenting your eligibility records as we're moving forward. Any questions on eligibility records? I should say also we have the methodology tools are in there for numeracy. Okay, so we have that. If you are not using one of our approved screeners, then you do need to provide assurances in that comments box. You just need to let us know which screener you were using and make those assurances that your screener fits the parameters that are set forth in the bill. Okay. And that is that it's age appropriate, that it's research based, you know, all of those pieces. Okay. All right. So here's the process that we're going to talk through for home-based. Okay, yes, Kathy, we can put the approved screener list. Yes, we can link that. So I just distributed data collection number 2, and I have a very large list of districts that are going to be offering the home-based program to their eligible students. So just as a reminder, you can offer home-based. Again, it's not just for homeschooled students. If you have homeschool families come to you, they do need to be assessed and you need to determine them eligible. But the students that you are assessing and you deem them eligible to participate in the home-based program, those kiddos should be in grades pre-K all the way up through grades 2. Okay, we can't serve any third graders. The only programming that's available to students going into third grade is that Summer Jumpstart program. Okay. So if your district has indicated that they will be offering the home-based program, that's great. I've got that list generated at this point in time. The new piece of this is that so they have to have an eligibility record, and then there's also a home-based record, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Is it Letitia? I'm sorry if I'm saying your name incorrectly. It's really up to you. You're welcome to stay. If you don't feel that this is relevant, then that's completely up to you. If you would like to stay and attend. And then once those home-based records are entered into Infinite Campus, I will generate a list of those eligible students and I will send that information to Waterford. It's critical to just remember that I only have 1,500 licenses to distribute, and so it will be on a first come, first served basis. Okay. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that if we do down the line, similar to what I did last school year, if I have students who are enrolled and are given access to an account, yet say by around December, January was like kind of when we cut it off last year. If they haven't accessed the program, then I was collecting names of districts who wanted to participate but didn't get to participate the first time around. And so what I did was I reallocated those basically unused licenses if a student hadn't logged in and participated, worked in the platform in some capacity. I reallocated those licenses to give opportunities to other schools and other districts that had eligible students that didn't get an initial chance to participate. Any questions on this so far? Okay, we will move along. Okay, so there are some things to consider as you're looking at the home-based program. There's no funding that flows to the school from that program. All of the The funding flows directly from OPI to Waterford, who is the company that offers this programming. So you still need to have those eligibility records in for these kiddos, pre-K through second. And as I indicated earlier, you could have your pre-K kids. You could have those kids, you could offer them the home-based program too. I know some schools that I've talked to, they have indicated if they're offering a part-time program, they're also going to offer the home-based program to those kiddos so that they could do something on the days where they're not in school. The other thing that I've heard is if it's a 4-day school week, some schools are enrolling kiddos in the home-based program and having them work on this on Fridays or whichever day they don't have school. So that's another option. And just as a reminder, the recommendation is about 15 minutes a day for a kiddo to participate in home-based, spending about that much time in the platform. So here is where we've kind of shifted a little bit. So previously, all of my kiddos that participated in home-based had to be enrolled in a home-based calendar. That is no longer the case. So instead of doing the home-based calendar, we're going to have the home-based record, and I'm going to show you what that looks like shortly. The only time a student would need to be enrolled in a home-based calendar is if they are not currently enrolled at the school. So if you have a kiddo that, like I referenced earlier, maybe is a homeschooled student and they would like, the parent, would like their kiddo to have that opportunity after you have screened them and deemed them eligible, then you would enroll them in a home-based calendar as you did last year. The other option would be, say you have a kiddo that is eligible and maybe they come to the school just for speech services or something like that. That is another instance where you could have, if they were eligible, you could offer them the home-based program. So if you are having to enroll them in a home-based calendar, you just need to make sure that the grade level is PK through 2, and that the service is an S partial service type, and that the start status should be 09 transfer from homeschool. That's no different than what it has been previously. So any questions on this or eligibility or home-based process? Okay, I'm going to move forward here so we make it. Okay, so let's say you have decided you're offering home-based, the home-based program. You've got your letter and you've distributed it to eligible students. Their parents have received the letter, they've signed it, they've given consent. Now you're like, wow, where do I put this information in Infinite Campus? Okay, so this is the path. It's kind of like the breadcrumb trail and how to get there through Infinite Campus. So from that main menu, you would go to student information and then state programs. And so this year is the first year that the home-based ETI is actually its own program. That's why it's living there underneath. Oop, why does my computer? Okay, that's why it's living under state programs. Okay. So here is an example of what that home-based record should look like. This is what it would look like if you had parent consent. Okay, so the start date of that record should be the day that you offered programming to the student. The end date should be 6/30 of the year that you're having the kiddo participate in that programming. Okay, so for this instance, it would be 6/30/2027. Then you need to have the parent name, email, and their phone number completed so that we have a complete pathway to get in contact with them and Waterford can get in contact with the family. And then the parent consent box needs to be checked as well as the date parent consent was given. Okay? Any questions on that home-based record for if parent consent was given? Okay. Let's go ahead and move on. So what happens if you have sent the letter out and a parent says no thank you? Well, it's very quick and very short. You don't have much to do. You still will enter in the start date for when that kiddo was offered the programming, but then the end date would be that date that the parent said no thank you, where they declined that programming. So that's all you would need to do in that instance if you didn't gain consent for the student to participate. Okay, so at this point in time, I just wanted to show you a lot of different resources. There's a lot of supporting documents here. I highly recommend that you go in and look at some of these sample letters. We've got the parent consent and eligibility as well as that home-based consent and eligibility letter there. The one pager that has a lot of information about all the programs. That reporting document that I referenced earlier, the chart, this is a link to that, as well as I've got a chart in here about the programs and which grade level / age student can participate in which program. And then we have a timeline. We've got some common misconceptions. So as many of you know, a lot of people refer to this programming as grant funded, and we are not a grant, we are state funded. So that's a big critical piece that sometimes we get confused with some of the other programs like the Montana Reads grant and things like that, but we are not part of that. And then there's an FAQ document. There's a planning worksheet that will walk you through step by step if you're looking to get this programming in place. And then also there's my early targeted interventions data guide, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And then there's a PDF here of data collection number 1, which will be going out next month. So I always recommend if you ran a summer jumpstart program, take a couple minutes to take a look at that and see what it is that I'm looking to collect. That really helped. I learned that after my first go around with sending data collections out, that it was helpful for my respondents to see what it was that I was looking for before I actually sent them the data collection so that they could gather all of their information that I was looking for ahead of time. It really helped a lot. The other thing I would encourage you to look at in terms of professional development, we've got Cox Campus. So they have a great PK through 5 structured literacy pathway. They have a lot of really good courses on there, and we are working with them to get PDUs awarded if you are taking those courses. So if you have questions about that, we're kind of in a holding pattern right now, but we're working to figure that out. Early Math Counts, if you're looking for some support with early numeracy, that's a good resource. And then I do have a link to our learning series playlist, which is where this video will live. I was just going to pull this up. So this is something that I worked hard to develop because I felt like things were all over the place in terms of data collection. And I wanted all of my early learning liaisons to have one-stop shop. I didn't want you to have to go over here to get something, to a different website. So this is something that I went ahead and created, and it's all for early targeted intervention programming. So it tells you all you need to know about the programs. So, I've just got a little blurb here about each of the programs, the classroom-based program, the Jumpstart, the home-based, right? So it gives you a lot of information here. Here's the programming chart. So it lets you know which student group can participate in which program. And then down here, I just have some reporting requirements and procedures. So it tells you what to report, when you're going to report it, and how you're going to report it. And so that I felt was a critical piece. And then just again, a reminder that you only need one eligibility record per school year for eligible students. I have some tips on data integrity and quality, right, as you're going through and submitting things. And then I've got some resources and training. So data collection 1 is linked here. Data collection number 2 is linked here. And then if you're looking for our new and updated user guides for Infinite Campus, those live on the website under the data collection link, under that collapsible menu. But I also linked them here so that you have those all in one spot. And then I also have the recording of reporting your early learning data that I did for the learning series back in May, if you were looking for any additional information.
And what was the name of that document again?
So this is the early targeted intervention data guide.
I'll get that link in the chat for everybody who's asking.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back here. Any questions on any of the PD offerings or any of the documents? Okay. Oop, here we go. All right. So our next session that we're going to have is going to take place on August 21st from 9 to 11. If you come and attend and participate, you will receive 2 PDUs, right? And we've got some information here of what we're looking to cover during this session, but we also are looking for your input. So be looking later this week for an interest survey so that we can gather information on the different topics that you're interested in. I think that will really be helpful and make the time together meaningful. Yes, we will record the session on August 21st, but you cannot receive PDUs for watching a recorded session, I should just say. But it will be great information that you can gather. Okay, here is our contact information if you're looking to get in touch with us, if you have questions maybe that are specific to your school or district, or you need some additional help getting started with some things. So I'd encourage you to reach out to us. And then at this point in time, do I have any questions and any questions about any of this programming?
As Kim mentioned, we will be following up with an email with these slides, so all of those links will be in there for your reference.
Okay, everyone. Well, thank you for taking the time. Oh, Katie has a question.
Sorry, so late. Does Waterford cover math and ELA, or is it just ELA?
So when a student is enrolled, from what I'm told by Waterford, when a student is enrolled in the Waterford platform, they will primarily be looking at the literacy first, but then
Okay.
once they spend some time in literacy, they do have access to numeracy and science, I believe. Um, Kathy is asking, when should families expect to hear from Waterford for this year? So I will need to go in and take a look and see the home-based records that are entered in and gathering that information. I would say probably either end of this month or beginning of September. It does take a little bit of time to get everyone up and running. So that is kind of my target, to get everyone enrolled and rosters sent over to Waterford and them to get going. Um, okay, so this data guide. Let me stop sharing, and then because it seems to be a hot ticket item here, and so let me get that, and then I will drop it in the chat. Let me just go back. Any other questions today? All right, everyone. Let me make sure that everyone has. Let me just make sure that everyone has access to that. Sometimes Canva doesn't like to share.